Yo, what's up guys? Josh the Grinder here, and we're back at Resorts World. So I was here yesterday, had a winning session despite having a very rocky start. I was down 1.5 buy-ins, $600 or so, before crawling out of the hole and actually having one of my biggest winning sessions of the year. That makes it 4 wins in a row, super stoked about that, looking to make it 5 wins in a row, and I'll probably just play here since I end up just staying at Resorts World. I tell you guys I'm gonna go to Resorts World and then go to the Wynn, but I feel like the chairs here are just so much nicer, and yeah, I just like this room in general. I think right now it's pretty slow just because the WSOP just happened, but I heard it picks back up after a month or so. So yeah, I think for today's session, same goal as yesterday, but let's actually try to make it happen. Basically looking to not start the session in the hole, just make the right decision. I think the main thing is not overplaying ace king, as you guys saw in the last episode. By by flat calling ace king, I was actually able to get paid off. So I'm looking to not overplay my hands, as well as just not bluff when I get card dead is the main thing. So gonna head in for a quick session, and I'll check in with you guys in a bit.
A few moments later.
All right, we back in the car, busted out first hand. No, I'm just kidding. No, there's only like one table going, and I was second on the list. I was just talking with the room manager. Super nice guy, like Vietnamese guy, or no, Chinese guy from Vietnam. But he's like, yeah, just go to the Wynn, man. This table's like, there's only one table running here, and it's probably gonna break soon. So, yeah, we're gonna go ahead to the Wynn to win. Also because I recognize like two of the guys from last night when I was running bad and playing bad, and they were like super nitty, or like super tag, like knit tag, you know, same thing kind of, but not the same thing. I'm gonna get roasted for that. So yeah, I'm just gonna head to the Wynn where there's 6 tables running right now, and hopefully book a win. So in this hand, I look down at King Jack offsuit and under the gun, so I go ahead and limp. 3 players limp behind me before the cutoff bumps it up to $15. The small blind calls the $15 raise. Assuming that this is going to go super multi-way, I also make the call, and 3 other players who initially limped also come along. So now we're going 6 ways to the flop. I remember during this hand, I was thinking, okay, what's the nut straight that I need? And I was like, okay, hopefully I can get 9-10 queen. I'm not sure if the poker gods heard my thoughts, but the flop is 10 queen 9. So we flop the nut straight. However, there's a heart draw on board, so it's a bit wet. And since we're super multi-weight, there's probably someone with a heart draw. So when the small blind checks over to me, I go ahead and bet $60, which is a 2/3 size pot bet. I used to think donk betting was always bad, but I feel like in multi-way situations, usually someone has a piece of the board. So you want to try to get the money in, as well as try to price out any draws that someone could be on. So this bet is enough to make the under the gun +1 in middle position to fold. However, the low jack and hijack want to see another card, so they both call. And then the cutoff and small blind also fold. So now we're going 3 ways to the turn, which is a 4 of diamonds. So this 4 of diamonds seems like a random card, but it actually makes the board even wetter, as it puts out a double flush draw now with hearts and diamonds. So with $370 left, which is over a pot size bet, I just go ahead and go all in to charge any draws the maximum. Now the low jack goes deep into the tank. He probably tanks for a few minutes before eventually making the call. And then the hijack, who's the crazy French player from the other session, he also tanks, but not as long, and then he actually makes the fold. The river's a 4 of spades, and I'm like really excited about this hand. I'm not sure why I kind of like slapped the cards a little, like a bit like a douche, but yeah, super happy to take this pot down of around $1,000, and the low jack ends up showing jack 8 of diamonds, and I think the hijack had ace 8 of hearts. So like I said, when you're super multi-way, typically people have something, which is another reason why I've learned that bluffing in multi-way pots is usually not the move. Unless like you can tell everyone's super weak, then yeah, I don't recommend bluffing in these multi-way pots. So in this next hand, the under the gun limps. I look down at king 10 offsuit and under the gun +1 and also decide to limp. And then the middle position bumps it up to $15. This person's actually quite tight. I felt like he was playing very tight, and then whenever he bet and went to showdown, he honestly always had it. So when the small blind and big blind call, as well as the under the gun, to this razor, I think I can actually make the fold. But in the moment, I also decide to call just because pot odds. So we go to a flop of 10 ace jack with 2 clubs. So I basically flop bottom pair with a gut shot straight draw. And then we all check over to the initial aggressor. who continuation bets for $25. Both blinds end up making the fold, and only the under the gun and I continue along. The turn is now a 10 of hearts, so we have trips. However, in this super wet connected board, I don't feel the best about trips. I mean, there's honestly other trip combinations that would beat me, such as Jack 10 and Ace 10. So when the under the gun checks to me, I also decide to check, and the middle position continues for $60. This is enough to cause the under the gun to fold, and at this point, I feel like alarm bells should have been going off in my head just because, like I said, this guy was very tight and didn't really bet if he didn't have something really strong. But I decided to call just because I have trips. And then the river is an eight of diamonds, which doesn't really change too much. So I go ahead and check once more. And then the middle position bets $60 yet again. Given that this is such a small bet, I just make the call. And then he shows king queen suited for the flop straight. So this is a good example of why something such as king 10 offsuit's not a great hand, because you don't have any really possibility of making a flush such as king 10 suited. And then if I hit a 10, I don't even know if I'm good there. And then if I hit a king, my kicker's mediocre. And then if I hit two pair, someone who has like jack queen or some other Broadway combination can possibly have a straight. So yeah, I lose this one. I should have known better, but it's a good learning lesson to really think about, okay, who is the opponent and what would he bet with? I feel like something I'm still working on to this day is putting my opponent on a range and thinking through like what exactly is he betting with or making his decisions with. So we lose this hand, but definitely a lot to learn from. In this next hand, we're under the gun and we look down at king 10 again, but this time of the suited variety. So we go ahead and bump it up to $15. The cutoff, button, and small blind all make the call. Four ways to the flop, which is 9-3 jack rainbow. When the small blind checks over to us, we have a few backdoor outs. So we have a gut shot straight draw as well as one overcard and a lot of turn cards that could help us improve to a better draw. So we go ahead and continuation bet for $35. The cutoff and button fold, and only the small blind comes along. The turn is now queen of diamonds, and when the small blind checks over to us, since we have the nuts, we downsize and bet $15, and the small blind makes the call once again. The river is not a good card at all. It's the king of spades, so now any 10 makes a straight, and we lose the ace 10. So when the small blind checks over to us, since this lady is a very loose player who likes to call a lot, I didn't really put her on a 10 here. So I bet $60, which is pretty value-ish, I'd say. You know, we're not trying to rep a bluff with an overbet, but we're also not trying to go too small to really show that we have the nuts. So the small blind actually quickly calls, which tells me I probably could have bet more and gotten paid more for this hand. Since she later told me after the hand she flopped a set of nines, and I guess maybe she was trying to slow play it, but yeah. So we take this one down. I'm not sure if I like how I played it. I do like the downsize bet on the turn, but I think I could have gone with 20 or $25 instead of 15 to set myself up for bigger sizing on the river. So here the under the gun opens at $15. The hijack makes the call, and I look down at 10-8 suited on the button, so I also make the call. And then both blinds also decide to come along. Five ways to the flop of 2-8-4 all diamonds. So when it checks over to me, I fire out a bet of $35 just because I'm last to act, and I just want to see where I'm at. In hindsight, I probably could have bet less, but maybe I was thinking my pair of eights was good. Anyways, the small blind and hijack both decide to call. The turn is a two of clubs, so now the board is getting quite wet if it wasn't wet already. And when the small blind and hijack check over to me again, I bet $45 for some reason. And then after the small blind calls, the hijack raises to $250, who was like this tight Asian grandpa. And I just get out of the way. The weird thing is this hand, like the showdown, I forgot exactly what happened, but it was not what I expected. I thought like one person would have a nut flush and another would have like a boat, but yeah, the hands that they had weren't that strong. And I really don't like how I played this hand. The reason I actually wanted to future this hand, even though it didn't go to showdown or anything for me, is because I don't really like my sizing on the flop bet. I think I could have bet like $20 and gotten the information I needed. And then I could have just saved myself on the turn bet, since I should have been thinking, okay, if I bet on the turn, I'm in very bad shape because at best, someone has one diamond. At worst, someone already has like a flush or even a boat at this point. So yeah, I don't like my turn bet at all. I could have saved myself $45, which is, you know, quite a lot considering that a lot of buy-ins are like $300 to $500 in 1-3. So that's like 10 to 15% of my stack size that I could have saved. So in the last hand of this session, I'm gonna show my table just broke and I had just table change. So I was actually in the middle of a seat change here, but I looked down at ace king offsuit in the cutoff for my first hand. So when the under the gun opens at $15 and then the middle position three bets to $40, I decide just to flat call the middle position's three bet, and then the original raiser gets out of the way. The flop comes two ace four rainbow, and when the middle position checks over to me, I bet $50 and he snap folds. So the reason I wanted to feature this hand is I was wondering if I should ever check for deception here or just downsize my bet, since he told me that when I bet $50, he knew instantly I had an ace, which he wasn't wrong, and he said he had pocket king. So I'm not sure if I misplayed the situation or I just happened to be against someone that is good enough to fold pocket kings to an ace high board.
All right, just wrapped up my session at the Wynn, and we did book a win. So another win at the Wynn. That's win number 5 in a row. Super stoked about that. I actually played a shorter session, 3 hours and 10 minutes, and booked a win of 228. So I was in for 600 and out for 828. So always great to book a win. I think, I keep saying that, but yeah, I feel like, you know, I did get stuck 200 initially. I think I overcalled with the suited gapper, was missing the flop, but then the hand of the night was flopping the straight and then holding, getting it all in on the turn, and yeah, holding against a lower straight, which had a flush draw. So super happy with that. Probably should have left after that hand since I would have been up 400 something, but then I wanted to keep playing since it was only an hour and a half in. So then I played more, bled a little bit, and then the table broke, switched tables. That table got short-handed, so I decided just to call it a night since I've been grinding a lot, so I want to actually go work out right now. Really happy to book that win, and we'll probably grind maybe Resorts World tomorrow if I can go early, or else come back to the Win. But that's gonna do it for this vlog. Let me know what you guys think about the hands down below. But that's good for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.